So everybody's been asking me this exact question. Can this gateway laptop actually game or not? But before I get into this video, if you haven't seen my first video on this laptop, then I highly suggest watching it. A card will be up at the top or a link will be in the description for that video. So without further ado, hello everyone, it's Jay and let's get into the video. So the question in the room is, can this gateway laptop actually game or not? And the quick answer is not really. I'm going to showcase the games that I played as well as the settings that I was on to make them play on this laptop. Now, this laptop is not a gaming laptop. There are a few videos out there about this laptop maybe playing GTA 5 or Call of Duty Warzone, and to be honest, it cannot handle that. So whatever FPS numbers that you see out to the side of the screen showcasing that this laptop can actually perform really well on games, it's not true, and I want you to be skeptical of that. So another question you might have is, how can we trust you in your videos if we can't trust the other people? And to answer that question is, I'm going to showcase a video of me actually playing Cyberpunk on this laptop. What you are seeing is raw footage of me playing Cyberpunk. I look ugly as hell. I have this stupid NASA cap on, but for the most part, it is true footage of me playing Cyberpunk. Now, Cyberpunk has its own controversy, but with these latest updates that they've made to the game, it is optimized pretty well now that you can actually play it on most systems just because of the Xbox Series X and the PS5 release of it. So let's get into the 4 games that I chose, and I will showcase the FPS on each game and what this laptop can actually run. Starting out with Saints Row 3. Now, I picked 2 older generation games because I knew that they would actually run on this hardware, but I also picked out 2 newer games because I knew that they wouldn't run on this hardware. This laptop can game at lower settings or medium settings, but let me showcase Saints Row 3. Now that we have jumped into Saints Row 3, I'm going to go all the way down to options, then I'm going to go to display, and once in display, I'm going to have the resolution set at 1920 by 1080, and it will be stuck on medium settings. Now, this was the only way that I could actually get the game to work efficiently. So now that we are actually in the game, you can see that the FPS count is close to hitting 30 FPS, which is fine because whenever playing this game on older gen consoles, you only got 30 FPS anyways. So I decided to do a little stress test with the game and wreak havoc on the city and see what would happen if I started blowing everything up. And for the most part, it kept its FPS in the 30s. So it did fairly well, but keep in mind that this is medium settings. And I'm pretty sure if you knock down the resolution to 720, then you could actually hit the 60 FPS mark in certain games. It would probably be older gen console games, but it wouldn't be anything newer because newer just requires so much more heavy input, and textures now are so detailed that it requires so much power that this laptop cannot put out. No matter what you do, it is not a gaming laptop. But continuing on with Saints Row 3, you can see that it's really not taking effect to anything that I'm doing. I am constantly blowing things up, fighting with the military, fighting with the gangs, and nothing actually affects the FPS. Moving on to Batman Arkham City. Now, like I said, I'm going to have 2 older gen games and 2 newer gen games, and Batman Arkham City is an older gen game that has been optimized pretty well throughout the years and can really run on most things. So taking a look at the settings, I have the resolution still at 1920 by 1080. I have turned off DirectX 11 features, and I have changed the settings to medium. Now, one thing you'll notice is I have like motion blur, lens flares, and stuff like that off for the most part to make this game run efficiently on this laptop. So jumping in the game, and whenever it first loads up, you can see a little bit of lag in the FPS because the map is trying to load up everything. But whenever it goes to fighting and combat and everything like that, it holds its FPS pretty well and it almost hits 60 FPS. I would say the highest FPS would be about 50 whenever it is in medium settings. Now, I did drop down the resolution on the game to 720 and it was capping at 60 FPS, no problem with this laptop. So let's take a look at that beloved Cyberpunk. Does this laptop actually really play Cyberpunk Cyberpunk? Sort of. It's not pleasant at all. So jumping into Night City or Cyberpunk 2077, I'm going down to settings, and then we're going over to graphics, and as you can see, everything is on low. Then moving on to the gameplay tab, you can see that crowd density is low because the more crowd that you have, the more the game struggles. What you are seeing right now is gameplay footage of Cyberpunk 2077. It is running at the topmost 15 FPS. And that's just because this game is so heavy on detail and a whole bunch of features, and it's probably one of the best games to come out for testing hardware. For the most part, you can see that the level of detail is low. There were a few times where I got the textures of cars not to appear, but you could actually see like the wheels and stuff driving. So as I'm making my way through Cyberpunk, you can see that the FPS is pretty much capping at 15 FPS. So yes, this laptop can run Cyberpunk, but it probably is not a good idea to run it on this hardware. So the last and final game would be Halo Infinite. Can this laptop actually run Halo Infinite or not? That is a question that was really on my mind. So come on, Halo. Wait, what? Why won't it let me? What the f? Okay, so let's try this again. Oh, come on! Dude, can I not try it one more time? It should just work. Why won't it work? Why won't it work on this hardware? Why? Oh. So aside from all that crazy acting, you can clearly tell that this thing cannot run Halo Infinite whatsoever. And that's probably due to the fact that that was on Game Pass and not on Steam. I'm pretty sure Steam is not as heavy as Game Pass is with requirements to hardware. So I'm pretty sure that Steam would let it work. But I was testing games that I have bought and I have been playing over time with this hardware, and I really didn't want to buy Halo Infinite again. And that brings me to my next point. I have GTA 5 on my Xbox consoles, but I do not have it on Steam, and I'm not gonna pay these ridiculous amounts of money, even though it's like what, 20 bucks now or whatever. I could spend that money on food, to be honest. The videos that I saw of this laptop actually running GTA 5 to me just didn't look true. It looked like somebody had a gaming PC, knocked a few settings up where it would run at 50 FPS or 60 FPS, and I really don't think that this laptop could handle that type of stress. Now, older gen games, it probably could work on low to medium settings, but newer gen games, I don't see that ever happening. Now, what this laptop is good for is running Windows 11. This laptop is upgradable with Windows 11, and I can showcase that right now. As you can see, it's very smooth, it has no lag whatsoever, and it runs very efficiently. Another thing that this laptop is good for is pretty much editing, but not heavy editing. I use Shotcut because it's free, it's open source, and there are no watermarks, but for the most part, Shotcut has its advantages and disadvantages. On my gaming PC, Shotcut kind of struggles here and there with certain things that you edit, but with this laptop, it doesn't struggle as much as my gaming hardware, which is pretty weird, but it all comes down to the processors and what's compatible with the software. The processor that's in this laptop is more compatible with Shotcut than the processor that's in my gaming PC. The last thing I want to touch on is whenever I'm recording DJ mixes, I have to do a special something in order for the frames to not lag whenever I'm doing my DJ mixes. So in Streamlabs, that's had its own controversy, obviously. I have to go into settings, go into video, and change the base canvas resolution and the output scaled resolution to 1280 by 720. And whenever I do that, then I don't have any frame drops whenever I'm recording a DJ mix. Now, that's one thing to think about whenever you're considering this laptop, if you're going to use it for your DJ mixer, or you're going to be at live events with your DJ mixer and you're going to have a live video feed with it as well. The processor cannot handle the DJ mixer and live video at the same time. So you might have to drop the resolution down just a bit in order to make it work properly. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't work with the mixer if you're not doing like a live feed with it. It works very efficiently with the mixer. You're going to want to look at the recommendations for your mixer in particular and what they recommend the hardware that you have, which is what I did and which is why I chose this laptop. So this is going to be the end of my video. Can this laptop actually run games? Yes and no. If you're running older gen games from the 2000s, more than likely yes. If you're running newer gen games from probably 2015 to now, no. Like I said, this is not a gaming laptop. It cannot run that type of textures and that type of FPS. If you're gonna want to game, but you want to game on the go, or you just don't want to spend the crazy money that gaming hardware is these days, but gaming laptops seem to be the more cheap and efficient way to get gaming hardware, then I would recommend like an HP gaming laptop. I wouldn't use average consumer hardware to run games like this, because more than likely you're gonna kill the laptop faster because it's just overheating itself trying to run these games. Like I said, that will be the end of my video. If you happen to like my content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think, and I'm out.